So welcome back to the round table. Ace, Sassy. And as you can see, we have three gentlemen here this evening. We're going to have a great discussion on fatherhood. To my right, we have the motivational speaker, mentor, and author, Mr. Kirk Barry.
Thank you.
Right to the left of me, we have our councilman, Mr. Hakeem Jones.
Thank you.
And to his left, we have Mr. Mayo Howe.
How you doing?
So we're going to just jump right into it. We chose this lineup. You know, we have Mr. Mayo Howe, who has been a father for some time now. You know, we have Mr. Hakeem Jones. First, congratulations. Congratulations. If you guys don't know, Hakeem is a new father, what? How many weeks now?
About 5 weeks.
5 weeks?
Going on 6.
So, congratulations to Mr. Jones. And then, you know, Mr. Barry's been a father for 5 years now. 5 years,
Nice.
5 years. So, we're going to start with Mr. Barry.
Thank you.
What does it mean, Mr. Barry? What does fatherhood mean to you? When you first found out that you were going to be a father, from that point on to the day, how's the journey been?
From the first time I found out I was going to be a father, that was in 2011. Right away I thought about getting a second job. And I did that for 2 years. But to sum it up, fatherhood for me, it means always being there for my child. I grew up not knowing my father, so the first thing I learned about fatherhood is I wanted my child to know me.
Mhm.
And so I've been able to accomplish that. And some people think, well, that's easy to accomplish, just be there for your child. But we all know a bunch of children who grew up without their dad, so for some reason it must not be that easy. So I enjoy it tremendously, and when I first thought about it being a big responsibility, I still make sure every morning when we wake up, if you know me and my daughter, we say it's time to make the donuts. So it's all about work for me and making sure I can provide for my child. So fatherhood for me means being there, but not just physically being there, but being there mentally, emotionally, physically, and just make sure I spend as much time with her as I can.
Okay.
And I do hair too, just in case. Dads do hair. That's the other thing. Fatherhood means that dads do hair.
Nice.
All right. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Mr. Howe, what does fatherhood mean to you, sir?
Well, I've been a father since 1993.
Woo!
My daughter was sitting at my graduation.
Uh-huh.
And I knew when she was born, Destiny, I had to change my whole ways.
Uh-huh.
Because, I'm from
Speak.
I'm from the streets.
Uh-huh.
From the streets. So when my daughter was born, Destiny was born, I had to change my whole way.
Mhm.
I had to be a real father. So when she was born, I had to get my grind on. I had to work. I had a couple jobs. I had to become a real father. Then the other kids started coming. To this day, I have a 10-year-old. It's my youngest.
Okay.
So I got to show her that daddy's always going to be there for you. Daddy's going to be dad, period. I work with her every day in school.
Nice.
So it's hard. It's hard being a dad, but I got a lot of daughters. You already know what that comes with. I got one boy. I got one boy that I'm trying to make the way for him right now. But my daughters, they're not far behind from me.
Okay.
So yeah, I started early.
Okay. Appreciate you. Mr. Jones, how's the last 5 weeks been for you, Mr. Jones?
Let's just say I'm not getting a lot of sleep. Everything that people told me about fatherhood and being a parent is exactly what it is. It was hard to believe when it happened. Probably one of the last in the group, minus one person I know. But just it's exactly what people said it was going to be. It's a constant sacrifice, and it's in the early stages for me too. So it's more so a sacrifice for the wife. Where she's with the baby girl all day. So I got to be more mindful of
When you come home, you gotta jump in.
Exactly. So the days of coaching and serving on boards and being on council and just being involved in so many things, I'm learning for the first time to really learn how to prioritize and you know, cut back on some things, but at the same time, you know, there's just some things that aren't worth it at the end of the day when you have a little girl at home. So, you know, I was fortunate to grow up with my father, and had that example, and it meant a lot. So I've been able to, you know, I got my butt whoopings growing up. You know, I got the lectures. You know, the expectations were set. So I do think, you know, I've been prepared for it, but there's nothing like it. You know, nothing like it. Losing a lot of sleep, but it's a good loss of sleep.
Right.
You know, and I think having a newborn, you know, it's important. It's much more important that I, you know, be the other half that's going to pick up the pieces when my wife is grinding all day with the baby. So.
Okay. Well, Mr. Jones, I'm sorry. Yes,
I was going to say, what would, I mean, anybody can answer. What would you say thus far has been the toughest thing about being a father? Like your most, I mean, the biggest challenge, I guess, would be the better question.
Anybody?
Well,
Now you go first.
okay, I'll start now. I'm actually here, and it's like what time is it? Going on 9 o'clock. So my last meeting ended, you know, at around 7:30. So technically I should be at home.
Right.
But saying no to the homies is always a hard thing to do. But so it's a good thing. So I'll go home. I'll get chewed out, but it'll be for doing something positive.
Right.
Notice I mentioned the wife and many of the
right.
But no, I think just prioritizing in life. You know, prioritizing your job, prioritizing your family time, and most importantly, prioritizing your money and where your money's going. So, just being a new parent, you know, yeah, the sky's the limit. But at the same time, if you're not smart and you don't make the right decisions, you know, you're setting you and your family up for failure.
25.
Hakeem and I are prioritizing different things, and so I have split custody with my child, and so I have her half the week, and the other half the week I don't have her. And so I'm a workaholic. So yesterday where I had my daughter, and this morning where I dropped off to school, when I have my daughter, I have to make sure that I leave work at 5.
Right.
I can't stay till 5:30. Can't stay till 6. I won't do extra meetings, right? So. I have to make sure that whenever someone asks my schedule, first schedule I look at is my child's schedule. Right. Like when do I have my daughter? What are the activities I have with her? It's not a hard thing to do as a parent, right? I believe the natural instinct is my child is first. Right. And so, but how do you make sure you do that in all ways? Not just feed your child first or clothe your child first. Right. But in everything I do, I make sure whatever my daughter's schedule is, we stick to that. So like I know Saturday she has tennis, right? Okay. So that means anything that I get invited to or people want me to do, it all has to be around tennis, right? And so I already know that I got to take my car into the shop and got to get a loaner. So what time do I need to wake my daughter up, feed her breakfast, get her ready, so when we get the loaner, then we can go to tennis on time. And so it makes you appreciate time and time management a whole lot. And so I can't say that it's something hard, but it can be hard if you don't have priorities in order.
Right. Okay.
Me?
Yes.
Me? It's kind of funny. But me is pleasing all 7 of them. All 7. All 7 of them, pleasing all 7 of them is hard. Especially having 6
different
daughters.
Personalities.
Yeah.
And,
especially having 6 daughters and 1 son. It's hard. It's hard. But and plus being a father to the community, the kids in the school district, and I work. But it's hard. It's hard. But I found a way to do it. Somebody might get shortchanged. But they all know daddy's there.
That's what's up.
That's the counts.
Well, first we want to say thank you to Mr. Camillus Wright for joining the show.
Oh, no problem.
Thanks for
It's a
coming.
pleasure. Bless.
So you just came in, you know, we're talking about fatherhood.
Okay.
So the question right now, what was the question,
The
Sash?
biggest challenge for you
Being a father.
Just being a father, that's a tough one. There's so many different challenges. There's so many obstacles. There's so much adversity. I guess it'd just be just understanding, just willing to compromise. You know, times have changed. Everybody's situation is different. You have to deal with another personality, another human being, being a mother. You know, and then there's family. Just you have the father's family, you have the mother's family. Then there's society. It's just something you have to be understanding and willing to compromise with all parties. No one person is right or wrong. You know, we're not at the schools, we're not at the playground, we're not on the school bus. You know, we're not in the cafeteria. We're only at home essentially, and we really can't. You know, dictate their conduct when they're not with the fathers, with the mothers. We have no. We can give them tools. You know, so they can use in the real world. Whether they grasp it, understand it, and apply it, that's up to the child.
Facts. Cool. So I know that I have a question, Sassy, for the guy. So my question is, I've known all you guys, but you know, I know all you guys are active in your children's lives and also in the community in some form or way. Like Mr. Barry has a young men mentoring camp every August. You know, Hakeem is Mr. Everything. You know, Mayo's a coach and he's in the school district, and then Mr. Wright here, you know, he gives back. He goes to all the events. He's giving kids rides. He's, you know, taking care of kids. You know, whether it's making sure to eat a meal at night or, you know, just making sure they have someone to talk to and give advice. So I don't know if all you guys grew up with fathers or not. But first question is, did you guys grow up with a father? And whether you did or you didn't, do you think that's the reason why you guys do what it is that you do for others besides your own kids? Anybody can go first.
I'll start. Like I mentioned a minute ago, you know, I was fortunate enough to grow up with my father, but a lot of people don't know that, you know, I'm one of four, you know, and we all have different moms. So being the baby, one of four different moms, you know, I watched my father really serve as a positive male. You know, although he had children with different women, to this day, we're all tight. You know, all me and my siblings were tight. We have good relationships. So I think, you know, learning at an early age that fatherhood isn't always pretty. It's not always picture perfect. You know, I do think I saw some values that, you know, you deal with the hand that's dealt to you. So there's single fathers out there. There's fathers who are married. There's fathers who, you know, were dating. It's a challenge whatever way you look at it. So I can just say, growing up with a father, it did give me some guidance. It did give me, it gave me, you know, a lot of tools that I'm using today. And I give a lot of respect to single parents out there too, because you have to work that much harder.
Oh yeah.
You know, you don't have that partner or that advantage. You don't have that that 15, 20-minute break time that you can go do something with somebody else, you know, holds a baby. So, you know, I respect, and working in the community and mentoring kids, I've always understood that. So I think a lot of my drive helping young people and being there for young people was somewhat to give them something that they may not have had, but something that I was blessed to have. So part of the mentoring does come to show that I wanted to be that positive person for some of the kids out there.
Gotcha. Anybody else?
So I grew up and have grown up not knowing my father, and so for me, being a part of my child's life and then working with other young men and other children through mentoring, for me, what it's really about is, so as far back as I can remember, one of the first people to cut my hair was Buddy Epps. Right, and so Buddy Epps was never my father, but I'm bringing him up because there's been men throughout my entire life who, whether they knew my parenting situation or not, whether my father was in my life or not, they helped to mold me, right? So I talk about Buddy Epps, and then I talk about my high school wrestling coach, Steve Harner, and then I talk about my pastor, Alan E. Waller. These are all men who, whether they knew I had a dad or not, they were male role models who would give me a ride if I needed one, who, if I didn't have $5, would give me a haircut. And so at the end of the day, it's like, now I'm a man. Who do I do those things for, whether I know their family dynamic or not, outside of just doing it for my daughter? So who's the young boy that I mentor? Don't know his family at all. But if I see that, like, hey, he needs something or he needs to have a conversation with somebody, I do all of those things because it was done for me. And who knows if those adults knew my situation. Miles Burrell, right? Miles would give me a ride to and from my house when we had two-a-days for practice because he was a swim, I don't know what he did, lifeguard up at the high school, right? So he wasn't a swim coach, I was about to say swim, but he was a lifeguard and he knew we didn't have a car in my family. And so what I do now is because others did it for me. And I didn't have to ask them, they just did it because they seen that I was in need. So now I try to do the same, and that's what part of my mentoring camp is about. Some of the young boys have fathers, some of them don't, but at the end of the day, anyone in the community can teach you to be a man. It doesn't just have to be your dad.
Me, I always had an idea who my father was, but my mom was a strong mother. She always taught me to be a provider. So the three women I'm fortunate to have children by, I always am a provider for my kids, period. I didn't have a dad growing up. I got cool with my dad when I finally found out who he was 3 or 4 years ago. We got real cool. But me, all my life, when I'm growing up, I'm being a provider for my lady and my children. So, always been that way. My mom instilled that in me to be a provider and a father. Period.
That's good. I grew up, I had a father, he raised me. There was a point in time where it was just my father, and he was raising me and my sister, and he would work long mornings, long days. He'd come home, we already be asleep. We had to potentially fend for ourselves, or the community, as some people say, the village. It takes a village to raise a child. They would look after us and fend for us. But he would teach us. He gave us tough love, constructive criticism for myself. And as I got a little older, hit teenage years, I kind of tried to stare away from him and actually run away from him. And I had a lot of uncles, a lot of other male figures I called dad or pops, different people in the community who were whether they were positive or negative. Me having a negative background for some period of time, there were people I knew that was negative, that was like that potentially would have been great fathers. You know, circumstances have been different, and they could easily, possibly influence people. I've seen a lot of fathers struggle, and I at times it seemed like I bashed women, but I know women who are better and stronger fathers than some actual fathers. I've seen that possibly more than I've seen fathers. I'm going to go on a limb and say, yeah, I've seen that 10 times more. I know more women raising kids, strong kids, than men. I'm not going to say if it's sad or not sad, because everybody's situation is different. And, becoming a product of your environment plays a factor, but fatherhood is serious, and men need to be in their children's lives, teach them how to be a man so they don't get caught up, be a knucklehead like I was, living that fast-paced lifestyle, not willing to break your back for those 8 hours, and earn and bring food to the table. Fatherhood is serious.
Sassy, got a question for the guys?
Yeah, I was thinking, for someone who's raising a son and everything that's going on, what would be some advice that you would give to him, or someone who's about to have a son? Like, what would be a piece of advice that you would give someone this day and age with everything that's been going on lately? Like, to, help them be strong and help them teach their young men.
It's hard being a father of a son. You got to keep him busy. Period. One sport to the next sport to the next sport to the next sport, and show him that you there, and you want his best. You want his best interest. Make sure his books is right, his sports is right, his life is right. Because if he see you slacking, he definitely gonna slack.
Yeah, I got a daughter.
I know you have a daughter. Like, just for people, kids that you teach with your program, some things you might see, some advice.
So So I don't know my biological father, but my mother did a really good job making sure I had a father figure. And he's been in my life since I was in 2nd grade, and so I would do what he did for me. And so my father, Chris, he led by example always. And so, you know, as Mayo said, keeping you busy definitely is something you want to do for your son, so that he doesn't have the streets or any negative influences guiding him, because it takes hold of our boys much faster than it does our girls. Our girls, some, not all, but our girls, if they find something they like and they want to do, they'll stay focused on it. But sometimes boys can tend to be followers. And if girls are followers, they're usually following a boy, right? Because they want, you know. But I would lead by example, being that good example. And so that's what my father was to me. He always showed me just by his actions. And so my father figure in my life, he has custody of my younger brother and sister. So when it came time for me to decide whether I was going to fight for custody of my child or not, I had someone who was already an example. So where a lot of people were saying, what if you don't win? I'm sitting here looking at my father who won. Right. My sister is 21 and my brother is 18 or 19. And so he's had them since 2001, full custody. And then I've known Mayo for the last 5 years. He's a little older than me from town, but he has custody of his kids, right? So being able to see men who lead by example,
absolutely,
right? The young boys, they see Hakeem picking up his nephews and taking them to practice. And it's funny because Hakeem's dad did that for me, because we didn't have a car in my family. His dad took me to practice. Now you see Hakeem taking his kids to practice and kids in his community, right? And then you see Mayo doing the same thing. So I think men leading by example is the best thing we can show our young boys. And sometimes if you don't have a father in the household, then it becomes, who do I watch?
Right.
And do I watch someone who's always on the corner when I get off the bus, or do I watch another male figure who's making sure they're present in my life?
Right.
As he said, breaking their back, putting in them 8 hours every day.
Absolutely.
So I'll chime in. So we decided we were going to be surprised with the birth.
Right.
And about 80% of the people that saw my wife carrying, you know, hinted that we were going to have a boy.
Right.
80%, 85%, and everybody. So when she yelled out, "It's a girl," we looked at each other kind of crazy, but we were just as happy. But so I would say, just from being a mentor and a coach and an uncle, boys need, you know, they do need opportunities to be active. The most heartbreaking thing for me is spending time coaching, you know, Monday through Friday, and then the weekend comes. You know, you lose sight of your boys.
Right.
Or football season starts in August and it's over in November, and then you know you don't have as much impact with the kids, and you know, just life happens. So I think, you know, young men that don't have fathers, you know, they really appreciate the consistency.
Definitely.
And they appreciate honesty. You know, if you're supposed to do something with the young man or pick up the young man, and you can't make it for whatever reason, you need to be honest.
Right.
Or if you tell them you're going to be there, you need to be there, because
You definitely need to be there.
that's the difference between a kid going to school the next day and getting suspended. Or, you know, so I think our young men and our young boys need consistency, you know, whether you're the father, whether you're the coach, and they really depend on that male interaction. And if you look at majority of you know, behavioral challenges in school, young men are upset, you know, because the man's not present in their lives. So, you know, just being a coach and not a father of a boy, I do know that the young men need the attention.
Right.
And it's up to us to give it to them. Yep.
I mean, I just asked that question because I know a gentleman who's raising 3 boys. He's had them since birth. All 3 same mom, but he has full custody. And I know a woman with 4 boys, and she's like, what do I do? Like, so I asked that for her specifically. Yeah.
My advice, if somebody's having a little boy, my personal experience, I have a 3-year-old son. Many which might not even knew that because I failed to man up and step up and be a father since the beginning. And be all honest, I'll be completely honest with you, I was actually scared. I got 2 daughters. I raised them phenomenally. I was scared because to think that he's going to think possibly thoughts that I've had and have to do similar things that I've had to do or go through, that's scary. I didn't know how to really attack it. I didn't know which angle. I really didn't know like really how to guide and misguide. So I say you look at the world as like a jungle. The male lion, he has to go out and hunt, bring back the food for the family. So it's a difference. Like what are you really going to teach your son?
Well, I have a question for you guys. So all you guys are fathers. So when you guys are going through maybe hard times or difficulties, who was that person or people that you guys may reach out to for advice? You know, because, you know, us as men, we tend to, well, I speak for me. If I'm going through something, you probably won't know about it because I won't go to anybody and ask them. So is anybody that you guys go to for support, guidance, or anything?
I'm going to my mom. It ain't never going to change. I'm going to my mom. But when I was fighting for 50-50 custody, I asked my dad what he went through, and so I'm older than my brother and sister, so I know a little bit of what he went through. But I go to my mom. I definitely go to my mom, and that's about anything. It doesn't just have to be a parenting thing, but I always go to my mom. But the time I was going through my custody battle, I went to my dad just to. It's tough because a lot of people care about the situation, but they don't know how to be there for you.
Right.
They know how to go in court. They know how to ask you how to go in court, and you tell them, and they go okay. But if they don't know the court system, they're like, dang, a continuation. But they don't know that the continuation is 6 months away. So during that time, you're going 6 months and paying child support, but you ain't seeing your child no more. So you got to ask someone, you know. But that's that part of life. But just in general, if I'm going through something, it's usually my mom. It's usually somebody older than me because they can teach you that, you know, don't forget where you've come from, and that you've had hard times before, and that you can get over those hard times, you know. And so it just gives you the inspiration to keep going and don't give up, especially when you got children or a child depending on you.
I pretty much go into the battle. I might call a friend, but I know they're going through possibly the same thing or other things. I possibly go to battle. Sometimes it's like a 50-50 chance. I'll come out on top, or sometimes I lose. But I pretty much keep it to myself too.
I say it depends on the severity of the situation, but if I would have to say, it's usually going to be an older woman. It's could be Mom Faye, Mom Kim, or Mom Deb. And that's really it.
And I agree with Kurt. I go to Grateful Lady Jones. In the new case, I go to the wife, you know, who always has solid advice for me. But you know, I think I'm lucky to have created a group of friends and of mentors around me that were fathers before me. You know, we grew up together. We played sports together. I got several friends in the community. Even older guys that you know I don't talk to all the time that you know that I can go to, and when things are going on, when things are stressful, when you need some advice, some honest advice. So it goes from you know various places, but I think if you go to someone genuinely with a concern and you're not prideful to tell them that you got a concern, I think they'll give you the advice whether you see eye to eye or not,
right,
or whether you're
like it or not.
whether you're best friends or not. But you know, mainly I'll go to Mom Dukes first, but I got some good friends also who kind of understand what we all go through.
Yeah, so I'm foreseeing a future stressful moment. My daughter's only 5. But when she has her period, I hope she's with her mom on that day. Right? Like, as a man, I don't have no problem buying tampons. She can go. But if it happens for the first time, she's gonna be shocked and I'm gonna be shocked. And I probably call Mayo because Mayo probably experienced this 5 times already, right? Mayo, what do I do? Because you know when you talk about who do you call in stressful situations, right now as a parent, you know, she's 5 years old, and so things are pretty manageable right now. But as we go for the future, like when the first boy comes to my house, I'm gonna call you Hakeem, and we'll just be at the door, right? But on a situation where my daughter has her period and she's with me, I'm probably gonna panic, right, and not know what to do. And so it's the same thing like when you're having a child and you're in the room. Right, like everybody can kind of tell you what it's gonna be like, but it's completely different when you're actually there, and you're like, "Oh crap!" Right? Like, "Oh shit, this just happened."
Nurse put on gloves. I put on gloves. She said, "The first time I ever seen somebody put on gloves, ready to go."
And what happened after you put on the gloves?
I went to work. Nah, they stayed. I went to work. A lot of fluid, a lot of liquids. Went to work.
So.
Question, right?
No, I mean, this is really great advice, great insight. I wasn't raised with a father. I found my father when I moved up here, so that was probably about 2007. Ever since we met, confirmed that he was my father, we've had a great relationship. So if he would have known I was around, he's always told me that I would have been there. So I've given him the benefit of the doubt because he did not know. My mom admitted that he did not know. So we have the best relationship. I have 8 brothers. I'm the only girl that he has.
Brothers.
Yes, I'm the only girl. So just even for anybody, one of my friends is having twins, and her husband, they've been trying for years, and it's finally happened. So they're watching, and they appreciate the advice as well from people who are already fathers. So it's great.
So I have a question for you.
Me?
Yes.
Okay.
So where your father did not know, and this question is for people who find their other parent late in life. How were you open to receiving him, even though he did not know? That it's a hard thing, right?
Right.
And so, where I don't know who's watching this, there's a lot of people who find themselves in a situation where I don't want to talk to him, or I don't want to talk to her. She
Right.
gave me up for adoption, or he wasn't there. So, how'd you overcome those thoughts so that now you and your father could have a great relationship?
Well, you're talking to somebody who has been in those exact situations. So adoption, finding my mother, biological mother, and father. When it came to my mother, didn't want anything to do with her. Finally opened up, let her in, and it's still like I don't even know her. When it came to my father, I was like, I always want to know who he is. Like I've always needed that link, that missing link, and then we have the best relationship. So I was very open. The first time he opened the door, before we even found out if we were family, I could just feel it. I seen it. Everything was just right at that moment. So a lot of that void and everything I was missing, he's made up for. So with him, yes, I was very open. With my mother, I was very angry, like you said, like why me out of all your children? Why me? I was the firstborn. So, I mean, I've gotten better. I'm letting her in. She reaches out. So I've kind of like pushed that down and put it aside. But with him and I, we have a great relationship. So. Would
you encourage other people who may be in that situation
Definitely.
to open up?
Definitely. Like
Time heals?
Time heals. Exactly. I mean, I had a lot of anger. Because I was lied to. Just like you said, you got to be honest. I was lied to so many times. So I took that in. All that anger was just horrible. Very bad anger problems. But just like you said, like if you are somebody up front honest with you, like as a child, like we accept it more just as if like an adult. Like if you're honest and open, we can take it a lot better. So, I mean, he's made up. I'm 32, and it's been a couple of years, so we're fine.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's something you want to say, Mr. Wright?
Yeah, it was. I wasn't here when it first started. Part of my tardiness. Excuse my tardiness. Step parents.
That's a good question.
You asked the question. You
Yeah.
do it just.
I mean, like how? That is a good question.
I'd rather
Step
listen before
What's the question?
We're all fathers. This is about fatherhood. Step parents. Your child might have a stepfather.
Mm-hmm.
God forbid, nobody gets divorced, split, and whatnot. But step-parent, stepfather. How do you take that? How do you feel about that?
Man,
You see,
You so fresh in the game.
Right.
You could speak from the. You got other siblings.
Yeah, I got other siblings, and you know, like I said, we all share the same father, but we all had different moms. So you know, my mom was somewhat, you know, the neutral mom who had to love everybody just the same, and she always did. I think that was important that she emphasized to all of my siblings. You know, I think, you know, my father ended up marrying my mom, and they were together for 30 years, you know, plus. I think she made it clear that despite whatever situation happened between, you know, your moms, you know, you guys are still technically my daughter, my son also.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if you're a step parent, and you have children that necessarily aren't yours physically, you still have to build that bridge and accept everybody the same. In a perfect world that happens, but I'm sure it doesn't always happen.
It doesn't, yeah.
Me? I had 4 children of my own, and I had 3 step kids. And my advice to them always to tell them, I'm your dad, and that guy's your father. So I'm here right now, but you always gotta respect that guy that's your father. Don't never disrespect that guy. Don't ever act like he's not there. I'm your dad, that's your father. Period. They all get treated the same. My 3-step, they're treated just like my 4 regular. There's no there's no missing a beat.
I thought they were all yours. I didn't even know they were. Right. When I first met them, I had no idea.
I had 4 of my own and 3-step, and they all the same. They all the same to me.
Now, let me throw a little. Was that? How do you feel? Your children's mother? Did any of them remarry, or do they have a men in their life? And how do you deal with that right there?
That's tough.
I don't know how to handle
My older 2 kids, me and the new husband, James, we get along perfect. Like we call each other brothers. Male mahogany, it's like a disconnect there. But all of them, like my 4, I don't play that. If one of them say, they always come and say, "Oh, I'm their dad." I'm not taking that because I'm their dad. I'm around. I'm in everything they do. I'm this. I'm that. I'm there. They know who I am. So that's kind of rough. That's a rough question. That's a rough. I mean, I can't answer that without getting a little upset sometimes. But I'm a stepdad too.
Understood.
So I gotta feel the way the stepdad feels. But you know, it's taking a little time to get out.
Who wants to shoot next?
So my child's mother and I, we have 50-50 custody. So everyone can join in on the prayer line that her mother finds a husband. Everybody can join in, right? Like I want my child's mother to find a husband. And so he would be my child's stepfather, right? And as Mayo said, I'm a part of my child's life, so there's no question about who your dad is. I think it's important for parents not to allow the child to play each other, whether it's step-parents or regular parents. So Hakeem's daughter can't allow, I'm asked Mom said no, let me go ask my punk dad, because he's been, right? So you can't allow a married couple to let the child play games. You also can't allow that with step-parents. You can't allow the child to tell the father one thing about the stepdad, right? And now conversation is being had with a child that's not supposed to take place. So as y'all join that prayer line with me and that my child's mother finds somebody, right? The reason why I have that prayer request is because when you're in a situation, if people haven't moved on, they still focus on something that's never going to be, right? That's my experience, not all. Now, I want to get married one day, and so my daughter's going to have a stepmom. And it's very clear that I need to let that person know I'm married my daughter has a mother already. If she's a mature woman, she will already understand it, and now she will let my daughter know you are fortunate enough to have two moms.
Absolutely.
And I'm here to just support you. You have two parents who are already raising you, right? And so I think when you have step parents, it is the parent who's inviting the step parent in to regulate that situation.
Absolutely.
So what does that mean? That means that for the rest of my life, I'm going to be in a relationship with my child's mom, even though I'm not in a relationship.
You're right about that.
I'm in a parenting relationship. I'm not in a romantic relationship. I have to regulate that with whoever I invite in to be a part of our life. If they're mature enough, they should understand that.
I think that's the biggest part.
It's the key.
Maturity.
It's the key, and they all gotta be on the same page.
Yeah, absolutely.
All
No,
four
yeah.
all four has to be on the same page.
Mhm.
If all four ain't on the same page, it's never gonna work. It's always gonna be a disconnect.
And the only page we need to be on is the child.
Child, that's it. That's it.
Whatever page, child, school, pickup, drop-offs, and right. But my child's mom can't be like, I don't want her to drop her off at school. She's not on the same page then. Because if the page is about getting my child to school, you don't matter who do it,
She gotta
right?
get to
She gotta get to school.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's definitely about maturity. Definitely.
Yeah, and if I could chime in from that end, when you talk about schools, working in the schools and working with a lot of youth and seeing a lot of custody disputes and a lot of challenges, communication is key. You got to work with the schools and you got to get with the registration and let them know who can pick up and who can drop off. You got to let them know who can attend meetings and who can't. When things aren't working well, like communication is everything. And God forbid something bad happen, you also got to be aware of what protections you have.
Absolutely.
If there's a stepdad or a stepmom that's not treating your kid right, there are avenues. There's child line, there's children and youth, there's things you can do to keep yourself out of jail.
Absolutely.
Or keep yourself from hurting somebody.
Right.
I mean, I think you got to think about that too when you're splitting custody and when you're working together with somebody else. Be clear on who has what rights, and if things aren't working out, man, the best thing you can do is have it documented.
That child's innocent.
My-
That child's innocent.
My answer would be respect and maturity. But I this is the only time I promise you I'm gonna get off topic. One time, Mr. Jones, he just said something that was so important. He said he's involved with the school, and I've seen him there every time I go there. He's right there. He's in the hallways with the kids. I've seen him ride around 4 or 5 kids in seatbelts, taking them to practice, taking them to school, lunch, etc., etc.
Free seatbelts. Poor kids, though.
Guys, you get what I was saying. Everything safety first. Off the top of your head, now I know you're not looking at the statistics, just off the top of your head, and you're involved with the school too, Mr. Mayor. Off the top of your head, is it fair to say the kids, the children, the youth who have, when I say problems at home, I'm saying, let's say it's a custodial battle, whether the mother and father are separated, are they by the numbers, or is it more likely that they're the at-risk student, child? Are they more likely going to be late? Are they more likely getting suspended? Are they more likely lower GPAs? Are they more likely essentially to drop out? Are they more or less to say the statistic or the stereotype of at-risk youth or at-risk teen?
No.
You say no?
I would say no. I would say because there's more kids out there right now that have 2 parents at home, but say they go to a hood that they just want to be down. You just want to be down. You want to be down what's going on in the hood. I got 2 parents at home. I'm spoiled, but I want to be down over here with this clique. They're the ones that have the backgrounds. They're the ones that can't get the jobs.
You're saying there's more kids who have 2 parents at home in the streets?
Exactly.
Because they want to fit in.
They just want to fit in.
You're talking about numbers and bodies.
Numbers.
I would disagree only because there's a higher percentage, period, of kids that don't have 2 parents in the home or from broken homes.
There's a high percentage.
Just statistically, there are more, like if we go around the room right here and we go 2-parent home, 2-parent home, 2-parent home, or 2-parent, you would find out that most of us, just statistically, right, come from a 1-parent home. I'm not saying that puts them, that makes them disadvantaged youth. I agree with Mel. There's a lot of kids who are wannabes who have two parents in the home. But just off statistics alone, the people you're targeting from either a broken home, one parent in the home being raised by their grandparents, you're probably going to find that more of those are part of the dropout or the bad grade suspension.
Yeah, so, I'll touch on, like, truancy, for example. When things get, a little too out of hand and kids start missing too much school, unfortunately the courts have to get involved.
Yeah.
I can go through a list of phone calls and emails and reaching out to families. Majority of the families that I reach out to are single parent, whether it be single mom, majority single mom, but it's usually a single parent household, which does show that, it's a challenge when there's not two parents in the house.
Mm-hmm.
And parents that work from sun up to sundown, there's some things that they can't always do. Their supervision's not always there. So I do see a correlation between a single parent household and kids sometimes getting in trouble or missing school. But like Mayo said, you also have two parent households where there's turmoil, where there's domestic abuse, where there's looks good on the outside but it's ugly on the inside. So there's also two parent situations where kids are in trouble. But for the most part, I see a lot of single family households, unfortunately, fatherless households that are, these kids usually fall victim to, truancy and suspension and expulsion and things like that.
Good question.
Thank you.
Anything sassy before
All right, one more thing.
Go ahead, Mr. Jones.
Man, well, like I said, I'm a new father, but like I say, somebody may have posted something, may have been Percy, he posted something a long time ago. What's it like to be a parent? Mm-hmm. And would you do it all over again if you had to? And there was over 200-300 posts on there that said, like, it's the toughest thing in the world, but it's the best thing in the world. And just like all the love that came through from people, experiencing what it's like to be a parent, I was able to see what everybody and anybody have been through. Mm-hmm. From the single mom who works 3 jobs to the parent, it's a great experience, and I think if anybody's blessed to be able to have a child in modern time, I think it's a good thing to do because it puts life into perspective, it gets your priorities on board, and it really just makes you feel good about yourself. So that's it.
Well, we would like to thank you all for coming on the show tonight. I know it was last minute, we had to change up a couple things, but I want to thank you all for coming out to the show. In the future, I would definitely like to have another fatherhood talk with more fathers, from all different backgrounds. If you see how we pretty much put this together, none of you guys are all fathers and all good guys, but you all come from different walks of life. Right. So they would have put this together, have a nice dialogue. I know myself, Sassy, and Slad would definitely like to do this again. Yes. And do it bigger, take it to a bigger location and really talk for an hour or two. Right. Keep the ladies out the room. Maybe Sassy, because sometimes as men we don't really open up as much. And sometimes when you talk about fatherhood, I know in my fatherhood class that I teach at Project Dad, always that first day we talk about a lot of stuff that gets fathers to think about their childhood and think about their fatherhood experience, and tears start dropping, and we'll be able to have a discussion, and if the tears drop, actually get it out, because a lot of men are like me, keep it all boxed up inside and don't let it out, and then when you let it out, it feels good, but we don't tend to let it out that often. So I want to thank Mr. Bright.
I have one thing to say. I would definitely like to invite everyone. I'll personally contact everyone. Thanksgiving morning, POPS, which stands for Pushing Obstacles, Producing Success. Myself and a few other fathers in the local community area. We will be hosting a Thanksgiving breakfast. Bring your children. You could bring your niece, your nephew. You could be an uncle, a father, a coach. And just want to, just serve the kids breakfast. Thanksgiving morning, I'll contact you guys and let each and every last one of you know further details and information. Once again, this will be breakfast, Thanksgiving morning. This is for Pops. Thank you.
Cool. So stay tuned for those details. We'll definitely put them out on all our social media platforms. But thank you to Mr. Wright, Mr. Howe, Mr. Jones, Sassy, and Mr. Barrett. Don't forget, each and every Wednesday, 8 to 10, the Round Table. Follow us at our YouTube page at the Round Table 610, as well as Instagram. Have a good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
You're not going to